Hey, happy holidays, everybody. It's Ken Dunek, Mark Eckel. It's the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark, special holiday edition. And Mark, I got to be honest, I'm in a little bit of a bad mood
What
because
happened?
even though the Eagles won, and I'm very happy about that,
Did
but
you have the over? Did you bet the over?
that was a lock under. As soon as I saw the weather, I didn't pull the trigger on that. I should have. But here's the deal. The weather's been bad here, and there's no golf, and like golf is my thing. And normally you can play through the winter here, but there's been no golf. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, so that's kind of bringing me down. And you might see me dabbing at my nose here a little bit during the podcast. Hope it doesn't gross you out. So I'm looking forward to this Eagles game because I'm a
Yeah,
little
me
bit
too.
down. So here's how the game starts. We have a kickoff return formation penalty, which I have no idea how that happens in this day and age, but the Eagles start with a penalty. Then Fred Johnson forgets he doesn't have his helmet as he's in the huddle to start the game, which I have never seen before in my history of watching football. How do you forget you don't have your helmet on? Unless he's got a really hard head. So the game starts, right? Now we're playing Buffalo, who coming into the game had the worst rushing defense. It's pouring rain, and we throw the ball 3 straight times to start the game. And right away, I'm in a worse mood. So I want the Eagles to bring me out of this funk, and they put me right back in it. Luckily, they won the game, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, listen, it wasn't the prettiest game, and weather I think had a lot to do with it being the way it was. But that's a game I didn't think there. From the day the schedule came out, how you always, and I hate doing that win loss because you never know, right? But that was a game I figured would be very tough at Buffalo. I think I told you last week I picked
Always
Buffalo
tough
with
at
the
Buffalo.
AFC, right? That's a
They're
good
like
team.
2-34 the last few
Right.
years.
Well, I mean, I thought that was a tough game when the schedule came out. I thought it was a tough game last week when we were looking ahead to this week's. I didn't think they were going to win that game. I really didn't. And you could say they got outplayed because they kind of did. That they didn't do anything in the second half on offense because they didn't. But it's a win. Bottom line is they went to Buffalo and beat a damn good Buffalo Bills team. The defense stepped up when it had to. They stopped the 2-point conversion. And listen, and we could talk about this later when we bring our guests on as well. I had no problem with Sean McDermott going for 2 points there.
No, God, you want to get out of that cold
Exactly.
rain. Cold rain is the toughest conditions to play in. And, we're going to talk about that. Of course, I meant to say 34-2, not 2-34.
Right.
But we're going to bring on a really good guest, Adam Caplan, NFL insider. He's got his ear to the ground, knows a lot of good inside stuff, and we're looking forward to having him on the show. I want to thank our sponsors before we get started. First of all, this podcast is being produced by Sweet Recording, and our friend Joe Congemi is at the controls here today. They're moving into a new studio, which we're looking forward to. If you want to do a podcast, please contact Joe at sweetrecording.com, and he will take care of you. Second, Chris Wilhelm, our good friend from Citywide Mortgage. If you're buying a new home, you want to check out Chris. He's got the most competitive rates around. Chris can be contacted at 609-234-4304. Chris Wilhelm, Citywide Mortgage. Tony DiGirolamo Financial, Insurance and Investing. As I've said before, he's a one-stop shop for all your financial needs. Tony's number is 609-541-7515. Start the new year with a good financial plan and contact Tony G. And finally, Kelly, it's Adjust Your Sleep Mattress Boutique. She can handle all of your mattress needs. They have everything to choose from there. I've been to her showroom. It's magnificent. And she's at 856-357-3640. Contact Kelly. And then finally, Jersey Man Magazine. Mark, we had our holiday party last week. We sold it out. It was a great event. If you would like to plug into the Jersey Man Network, 300 plus members, another 40 to 80 advertisers and gala sponsors, great business connections. Contact me, Ken at jerseymanmagazine.com, and I'll have you as a guest to one of our events to check it out.
And the next issue will be coming out this week, right?
And the January issue, right, is coming out. And, of course, you've done your great job telling your stories, and looking forward to having that free on our website, by the way, at jerseymanmagazine.com, January 1st. Check that out. Okay, we're going to bring in Adam Caplan now, our guest. And Adam, welcome to the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark. How are you?
Guys, I'm well. Good to see you guys. And yes, you're right. As Mark said, a win. Eagles did get the win somehow. It was a strange game. I agree, Ken. I was surprised at the amount of dropbacks for Hurts. He had 20. Though they did throw the ball pretty well. It was a very odd game. And I'm sure we'll get to the second half. Oh boy.
Yeah.
On radio. But overall, look, when you win on the road, Nick Sirianni, the number one coach on the road in the National Football League over the last 5 years, which is hard to believe. A first-year head coach, now in his fifth year, has done this. That's remarkable, Ken. As you played the game and Mark has covered for as long as he has. That's pretty remarkable to me.
No question about it. Adam, before we get into the Eagles game and break everything down, you're an NFL insider. How does one get to be an NFL insider? Yeah. How do you develop the trust with administrators, with players, with coaches? And you've done this over your whole life. And you have to have their trust, otherwise they're not going to give you any truthful information. So how do you go about doing that?
So basically, and Mark has gone through this, you have to get to know people. I don't need to be friends with people. I'm an information gatherer, but you want to have a working relationship and that they could trust you and you can trust them. That's just really what I did. I had good mentors. Jay Glazer was a former business partner of mine. Chris Mortensen, the late, great Chris Mortensen, was very helpful when I was at ESPN, who I miss dearly. Just some people have been very good to me, and I'm a good listener, and I may not agree with everything you tell me, but I want to learn. So I'm a sponge, and then I take out what I think is going to help me, and then we just keep going on. And I just kept a lot of good records. I taped a lot of stuff. I traveled a lot, paid a lot on my own, by the way, to start for young people. When I started in the business in '99, I paid for almost all of my trips for first 4 or 5 years. So I started to progress. Most people wouldn't do that. But I told my wife, Ken, this is a great story. My wife and I don't have any kids. My wife could not understand what I was doing. I said, hon, you're either with me if you were against me. If you want to go back to Greenwich, Connecticut, go ahead. I'm good. But if you're with me, I need your full support. I'm kind of like that with everybody. Everybody knows where they stand with me. There's no gray area. I'm very upfront with people. I'm very caring and supportive. But you got to be in my corner. And in the early 2000s, I started to take off a little bit, and I became sort of like an injury expert. That was my first thing, Ken. Getting to know team doctors. Mark has gone through this. To get injury information was never easy. The injury reports, Ken, when you were playing, they had them, by the way, in the early to mid-'80s. They did. I don't know if the USFL they did, but I started finding injury information interesting. Very hard to disseminate. I had to get to be friendly with team doctors. I would ask them what I could use and not use, but I would learn human anatomy, some stuff I was not aware of that in our body. This Lisfranc sprain when Deuce Staley, Mark, you remember when he tore it? I'm like, who? And I just talked to Mike Mamula a couple weeks ago. That ended his career. So this is the stuff you just don't know, because I did not go to school. I went to school for journalism, radio, and television. I didn't know anything about football injuries, but I had to learn it. And then you guys did a profile on me after I left ESPN. I was a partner in footballinjuries.com. I was the executive editor. I ran the company pretty much from day to day. From a content standpoint, I had to learn injuries. Like I didn't have a choice. Either I was going to learn or I was going to be out of the business. So I forced myself to making calls to answer your question, move this along here. Very aggressive, good listener, take notes. Don't be afraid to bring a recorder. Let them know you're recording it, by the way. You should do that. Mark knows this as a reporter. And ask for a lot of opinions on our platform, Inside the Birds. We interview former athletic trainers. Dr. David Chow is a friend of mine, former Chargers team doctor. We've talked to countless number of medical people over the years, and I'm an obsessive information gatherer. When I speak at schools, Ken, always be curious. Always be curious. You never stop wanting to gather information. There you go.
Well, listen, that's an impressive story. The most impressive part was you told your wife either you're with me or against me.
Truth, I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Kick me right to the curb. So
she could have. No, but Ken, you know what? We need people who don't bring us down in life. I understood. She was looking at me. Why are you home and grossly overweight? Okay, I'll control that. I'm down to 202 pounds, but I was heavy. Being at home, I said, hon, I'm trying to figure out this internet. Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. Where this is going. I think it's going to be big. Can you just support me? No,
that's a great story. Mark, you're one that held truth to power back in the day. You rankled a few coaches and administrators.
I follow Mark on that. Go ahead.
A little bit. I just wanted to tell, the greatest compliment anybody ever gave me was when they told me, you're fair. That's all I want it to be. And I never see, and I'll be honest, you guys are fans of the Eagles. I didn't grow up an Eagles fan. I'm still not a fan. I mean,
I'm not a fan either. I don't care who wins. Well,
That's
it's good for my business.
I am, and I'm from Chicago, and I root for all the Chicago teams. I don't root for the Bears. I root for the Eagles just because of my allegiance.
As a kid, you were a Bears fan.
Oh yeah, big time.
See, I wasn't.
That
was my thing. I always tell people, now listen. After years, there are certain players, because it's human nature to like certain people or not like certain people. For over the years, you tried to hide that a little bit, but let's be honest. There are certain players I wanted to see do well, and maybe a couple guys I wasn't too upset when they didn't do well. But basically, I didn't care who won the game. So when the Eagles won, I tried to tell you not just that they won, but why they won and what they have to keep doing to win again. When they lost, again, I wasn't upset, but I told you why they lost and what they have to do to not lose again. And that was how I treated the job and how I treated covering the team. And I'll be honest, yeah, coaches didn't always like me. Some did, some didn't. Players did. I rarely had a problem with a player because they knew they could trust me. Like Adam's about building up trust. They knew they could tell me some things that I realized was not for print, and some things they wanted me to print. See, the game, the league, it's changed so much, and they used to need us. Players used to, if they wanted something out there, we were the only way to get it out there, right? Now they have their own, they have their own websites and their own Twitter accounts and their own whatever they have, so they don't. It's not like it used to be, and I'm glad I was around when I was around, and not. It's just a different ballgame now in terms of everything, in terms of what you're right, how you're right, what you're right. I mean, I used to be able to write I thought it was a good story, at least, I built up, you talk to players, you talk to coaches, you talk to whoever, and at the end of the day, you wrote your story and it was in the newspaper the next day. Now there are no more newspapers, everything's internet online. That internet did blow up, by the way, Adam, in case you were wondering.
Breaking news.
But now they want you, just get it up there quick, write three stories, 300 words each instead of one 900-word story, It's not the way I really want to do it. That's why I love writing for your magazine too. That's why I really enjoy you guys say write as long as you want. We don't care.
Listen, let's talk a little bit about the game. I thought it was a really interesting game and frustrating in a lot of ways. But Adam, we discussed it. Coming out of Buffalo is always a good win, and it wasn't the prettiest win. The conditions, having played in conditions like that, I can tell you it's the worst possible conditions to play football. And you'd much rather have snow. You'd much rather have freezing cold, because the problem with cold rain is you can't get warm. It soaks you. It penetrates your clothes. You're uncomfortable the entire game. And from a receiver standpoint, you have to change it up because, as you saw early on, the receivers are trying to catch it in their hands, and that doesn't work in the rain. It's a cold and slippery ball. You have to trap it against your chest, which is something you normally wouldn't do under normal circumstances. So, Adam, you've seen games like this. I mean, what was your overall impression of the first half versus the second half? And what do you think went wrong in that second half when the Eagles went stone cold on offense?
It's not hard to figure out the second half. But first half, I'm very weather reliant. I when the weather's nice, I play tennis, not as much golf anymore. I was playing on the golf team in high school, but I'm an avid tennis player. So when the weather is nice, there's sometimes, believe it or not, I play outside. If it's in the mid-40s and no wind, I'm outside playing tennis. That's just the way it is. But you don't want to play in the 30s because the ball will be too hard. You can't play. You can get hurt. But anyway, so I was not thinking they'd throw the ball a lot. Now, I know the wind was low. It was below 10 miles an hour in the first half. But you're right, because I've talked to Rich Gannon, who one of the best weather games I've seen in my life at the old Giants Stadium at the Meadowlands. I've never seen anyone throw the ball so well in the rain, but that's rare. Now, Hurts made some great throws. That throw over the middle to Devontae Smith.
Oh, it was fantastic.
You want to talk about tight window throws, Kenny? I'll be honest with you. I don't know. That's not like him. Like he's been, I think, coached to be risk averse, though the last 3 or 4 games he's been more aggressive throwing inside the numbers. That was the most aggressive throw of his career. I really
tell you something. I agree. I think that's the best throw I've ever seen him make. I mean, I was window in those conditions.
I was blown away by, but that's a great sign because that Charger game where he turned the ball over too much, he was super aggressive. He's been aggressive since then. That's a good sign. 20 pass attempts was a little bit much for me. When Barkley is running well. He had 51 yards in the first half. I'll take that any day.
Oh yeah.
And you're right to start your show here. Sure, the Bills are a bad run team. I really had very little problem with what their approach was. You and I probably won't totally agree. You played, I didn't, but not every player that I've talked to over 27 years says you can't throw in the rain. It just depends. The thing is, okay, we weren't there. There must be a reason why. You know this from pregame warmups. If you think you could throw the ball, coaches can't help themselves. It's just the way it is sometimes. They feel like they got to throw. But second half was an abomination and embarrassment. And I have a ton of respect for Sirianni. I don't agree with everything he does. I like in his press conference, he admitted he needed to do a better job of helping Kevin Patullo, their offensive coordinator. Yeah. But don't give me the excuse that you got to manage the game. You're not calling the plays.
Yeah, it's a company line. He's protecting Patullo. And
100%. But what the problem is, clearly there's an issue in their process. What do I mean by that? They don't have a senior offensive assistant, right? This is where a senior offensive assistant would jump in. Hey, guys. Let's continue to spread it out. Buffalo had no idea what to do with it. Nobody stopped us when we're in hurry up and 5 eligibles. Go empty. We're great in the first half. Our numbers are ridiculously high in success rate when we go empty. They couldn't stop you. Why did you start closing formations in the second half? I don't remember a game. I'd have to go back in my memory bank. I'd have to quiz my boy Joe DeCamera. Maybe he would know.
Joe's pretty good. He knows everything. But
I know, it's my boy. I want to know the most conservative play calling in my career in this market. I cover 32 teams, but in this market, Mark has covered the team way longer than I have. I've not seen anything like this, but this is one of the worst formation put-outs I've seen. This was embarrassing. Yeah. It's like Jeff Mosher hosts the show with me on Inside the Bird said this better than I did. It's like they thought they were up 40-0. You're up 13-0 against Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. What are you doing? The floor is yours.
Mark, what do you think? I mean, you've covered some bad weather games.
Well, I could say the most conservative I ever saw, Adam, was, I forget the year, it was Rich Kotite was coaching. Brad Gable was the Eagles quarterback that day.
Number 8, Brad Gable.
I think they ran the ball 50. I think Heath Sherman, he might still have the record for most carries by an Eagle in a game. I think he had like 40-something carries in that game. And they lost. They lost when they dropped. When they lost on a punt. The punter, I forget who it was at the time.
Who'd they play? Do you remember?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa.
In Tampa. Okay. Tampa was really bad then too. But the punter dropped the ball. He dropped the ball and Tampa recovered, and that's the only way Tampa. I think the final score was like 10-6 or something. They were up 6-3 most of the game, I think, and lost 10. Anyway, they obviously got conservative in the second half. Why? I don't know. I mean, that's what they do.
How about the last drive when they can close out the game? They run it twice into a wall. I don't know if they ran it a third time. I can't remember. But so, Adam, let me ask you. The Eagles have an unlimited budget. They can hire anyone you want. At some point, aren't you? If you're Howie or Jeff Lurie, don't you bring the offensive staff into the room and say, listen, guys, what we're doing now is not working. It's not good enough. Do you need help? Can we bring someone in to kind of counsel you through this issue? I mean, what do you think? Why aren't they doing it?
Well, the time to do it. I know the fans want Frank Reich. There's two things that I know, Mark, believe me. I've tried to educate people. Frank Reich's a good man. I'm not criticizing the man personally. I just know enough about every stop he's been. He's not a great play caller.
No.
But he has two things going for him. He's super close to Sirianni, and he gets the scheme, which, by the way, people tell me to grade the tape. It's not any particular scheme. It's a mismatch of different concepts and so forth. But Reich they need someone from a senior standpoint, and Reich could be that guy, but you don't do it now. Should have been done, on your point, Kenny, weeks ago. But who can get in their ear? Just, hey, listen, guys, I think we need to do this. You don't want to be overbearing, but you want to say, hey, guys, no. From a conceptual standpoint, why are we not spreading them out? They couldn't handle us. They're very bad at corner. And by the way, that's why they came out throwing Ken, because they know Christian Benford, who from Villanova has been a great story development. You talk to people around the league, he's an okay corner. He's fine. It's like more of a number 2 corner. I don't really have a true number 1. Tre'Davious White, who should have gotten flagged. That was embarrassing. That should have been a touchdown to A.J. Brown. I was wondering, why is he trying to catch with one hand? Right. Oh, he got his other hand held. Okay.
The rest were bad all day, but that was bad.
Yeah, for both teams, Mark. Yeah, for both teams.
Right.
But overall, it's been. If you look at the 10 mistakes of this season, despite them being 11-5, that's in my top 5. I have other things, very little on defense, just a couple, but very small. Mostly on offense. They've made some decisions on philosophy, some games where it's not working. And this is what would kill me about Andy Reid, when I didn't understand enough in my nascent years as a reporter, Mark. I didn't realize you have such a better advantage if you throw the ball early and you run to win. I didn't get that. It would drive me. But here's my problem, Mark, on that. When McNabb was throwing those worm burners, or whatever you want to call them, when he was highly inaccurate, turn to the run game. That you can.
Andy hated to run.
Right. But I understand I understand from a percentage standpoint,
right.
it helps you. But when your quarterback is inaccurate, try something else. Go ahead, Ken.
Dorsey Levens gave me the best quote once about Andy. He said the only time Andy runs the ball is to give the wide receivers a rest.
Who said that?
And Dorsey Levens.
Dorsey Levens, number 25. Yes.
When he came back he was Packer for most of his career, but then played
at
the end. Played in the Super Bowl with the Eagles when they lost to New England.
Oh, wow.
Well, let me get back to this. What you're saying about they need a senior. Shouldn't that be Sirianni? Shouldn't he be?
Yes, but his excuse is, Mark, that he doesn't have the time. He just said it in the postgame. I know. I thought it was an absurd comment.
He's not. He's not
doing anything on defense. All he's got to be concerned about is the offense.
Yeah.
Yes, it should be him.
That makes no sense. Hey, listen, just like true Eagles fans, we talked about the bad before the good. Let's talk about the Eagles defense. Incredible job by Vic Fangio to shut down Buffalo like that, regardless of the weather. Jalen Carter coming back. He's got a sack. He's got a blocked field goal. I mean, Adam, this defense, if you can play defense like that and run the ball, you have a chance to win every game. Regardless of the Eagles' offensive struggles, the Eagles have a chance to win every playoff game because of their running game and the defense. Go.
Yeah, it's funny, Ken. I said that on our show, on our postgame show. I said, I understand that the Rams have a better record and the Rams choked against the Eagles, but who can't the Eagles beat in the playoffs? And again, they could. It does. They sure you'd love to be at home. They could beat anybody on the road. They do. That's the thing. I don't know what we used to ask Andy Reid, what's your secret sauce coming out of a bye, and Andy would talk about he kicked the players out, coaches stayed off Thursday or Friday and whatever. I don't know why they're so good on the road. I just don't have an answer. I don't know if they do, but I don't worry about home field as much with this particular team. Maybe some younger teams like New England would worry me on the road, being a first. I know Mike Vrabel's a great coach, but it's their first year together. That would worry me. But they have the number 1 seed, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But a team that's not experienced, it would worry me. But overall, Vic Fangio, it's funny, Ken, when he first came here, because I don't get involved as much in social media as I used to be because it's so toxic and people don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm sick of correcting people, and then it gets toxic. So anyway, they're saying how Fangio can't be that good of a coach because he's never had a number 1 defense. No context. Context, guys, doesn't matter to people on social media. I call it anti-social media. You can't have any context. You can't have any good information.
No.
They don't understand what happened. Like when he was with the Texans, with an expansion team as a defense coordinator. Of course they're going to be bad. Now, he was also with the Carolina Panthers for an expansion team, and he had a bunch of old geezers who did a great job. The late, great Sam Mills, the late, great Kevin Green, Lamar Lathan. I can go through a list. He's a Jeff Moshe and I have a very close friend who's worked with Vic in the past, who's with another team now. Said it's the smartest football coach. This guy's been in the league over 20 years, smartest football coach at any level he's been around. He's brilliant. He could take anything you give him and make it work, Ken. You know, as a football player, that's pretty damn good coaching.
Mark, what do you think? Having said that, and the Eagles are good on the road, do you play hard for that number 2 seed, or do you rest your players next week? The only way they get the seed, they're going to win against Washington, but the Bears would have to lose to Detroit. I don't see that happening, but strange things can happen. And they play at the same time.
To me, 2 and 3, it's a difference. But like you said, home field isn't that big a deal for the Eagles. They could go into Chicago and win if that's the case. I don't think that's a big. I've seen players get hurt. I remember the Eagles played the Cardinals the last week of the season. It was before they played the Washington in the playoff game. It was Buddy Ryan's last game, actually. He got fired after they lost to Washington. They played the Cardinals, it meant beating the Cardinals meant if three other things had to happen and they might have gotten a higher, whatever. It didn't happen. The Eagles beat the Cardinals, but Jerome Brown got hurt and David Alexander, their starting center, they both got hurt. Jerome Brown played. He told the story. He took like 8 shots of cortisone so he could play, but he wasn't himself. And David Alexander didn't play, I don't believe. So, and they lost to Washington. Listen, Andy Reid taught me this a long time ago. Rest your players. Andy did it all. Whenever Andy was locked in, he rested. Now, guys got mad sometimes. Guys didn't. I remember Hugh Douglas had a clause in his contract. He needed 10 sacks to get a big bonus. He had 9.5 going into the last game.
Well, they should have paid him anyway.
I think they after guys like
Lurie might have. Norman Brayman wouldn't have paid him that much.
Well, it wasn't Norman. It was Jeffrey. It was Joe Banner though. Joe Banner didn't want to pay him.
Oh yeah.
And a bunch of us wrote a bunch of. Eventually, I found this out just recently that Hugh did get paid, but he had to go through a lot to get it, and he didn't get it right away. But anyway, I would, if you ask me the question, if they ask me what I wouldn't rest everybody, but put it this way: anybody who's a little nicked up, I'd rest, and I'd rest Jalen. Let's see a little.
Hey, Adam, do you give Lane Johnson a few live snaps in the game?
No,
not at all.
He's got the Lisfranc sprain. Based on what I know about that particular, the midfoot sprain, I wouldn't do it. Mark's right. Another thing, by the way, you can't put your backup offensive lineman in front of your starting quarterback. I'm sorry, that can't happen. So Hurts cannot play unless they're all starting. I'm not doing it. I'll take what Mark said, and I'll tell you my story with Andy. There were a couple times when he rested players. I didn't, being that I didn't coach or play, I didn't quite have the sentimentality or the understanding why they were resting players. And I asked him, he and I had a good relationship. So, Mark, you could do a walk and talk. Coach, catch Andy on the side coming out of the auditorium. So, Coach, just explain to me real quick. I just want to know how to explain this. My job is to get our players to the next game. I said, say no more. I got it. Got to get them there. The only way you can do it by not playing. Don't worry about, it's like when they resting Barkley last year for the record, we're playing them. You have to make a decision. It's a team decision. Okay, we'll play him because you can get the record, or we want to make sure that he gets there. Without Barkley, they're not winning the Super Bowl. It's not what he did in the game. Spag shut them down. It's what he did leading up to it. Let's call it like it is. But yeah, we won't know. I don't know yet. I haven't looked into it. I know Sirianni kind of hinted. He did kind of hint that they would rest him, but then he did say, "Hey, we can still get the number 2." I wouldn't play him. I just wouldn't play him.
Especially this week. Did I still want to go back to what Dan Quinn said after the game 2 weeks ago?
Oh, he's out of his mind. Oh, I know. Mark, tell him.
See him in a couple of weeks.
We're gonna. Was that it? I took that as we're gonna. You're running. You're going for 2 against me at the end of the game. All right, I'm going to see you in 2 weeks.
Which I thought was ridiculous, but my take, Mark, is different. I had an argument with the Eagles coach in 2017 when they asked, or 16 or 17, I don't remember. They had Carson Wentz on a quarterback keeper when not Wentz. Yeah, Wentz. It was Wentz. And he already had a bad shoulder. I'm like, why would you do that? And the guy yelled at me, and then we talked for 5 minutes. He goes, you know what? Talking this out, it's not my call. But you know what? We probably shouldn't have done that because why risk our quarterback? I just don't. I've been in this business long enough to know that if you could be smart about it, and Mark, you know this, and Kenny, you know this from playing, this offensive line has not performed remotely close to last year.
No.
They are so beat up. Cam Jurgens is a shell of himself. Yeah. Dickerson is beat up. Lane on the Lisfranc injury. Steen's just okay. They're just not. And Mailata's not been what he was last year. I don't know why. See, if people keep asking me this, I don't know why. I just know that they need to be rested. And other than they played into February and so forth, Kenny, as a player, that's not great.
It's all injury related. I mean, Jurgens and Dickerson have been fighting injuries all year. They had surgery in the off season. And hey, listen, let me wrap this up by saying
one. I think the brightest note out of yesterday's game, other than they won, the kicker did okay. We're not worried about. We're not talking about the kicker.
That was in my notes. We didn't get to it, but that was a sigh of relief. I was holding my breath. We really do need Jake Elliott to perform here. Hey, coming up, guys, a playoff picture. We've got 2 winner go home games, which I love. You got Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and you've got Carolina and Tampa Bay. That should be interesting. The Seahawks and the 49ers will play for the NFC West. Of course, if the 49ers win, they're the number one seed in the
Whoever wins
NFC.
the number
It's a
one,
big deal because
the
there's a
Eagles
bye.
probably played a loser of that game, right, Adam? If the
Well,
Eagles,
we have
are
to
the
see what
3 seed,
spot they're in, 2 or 3. But yeah,
well, if they're 3.
Listen,
They
if
played a
you're
loser
asking
of
me
that game.
who I would rather the Eagles play in the first round, it's definitely the 49ers because we're playing them in Philly. If the weather's bad at all, Purdy played really good last night, but he doesn't have the arm strength to penetrate the wind and the cold at the link like he does in warm LA. So that would be my preference for the Eagles matchup. But we got to wrap it up here, guys. Adam, thanks so much for being with us. I want everybody to like and subscribe. If you like the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark, please hit the like button and tell your friends about it. And for Mark Eckel and Adam Caplan, this is Ken Dunek. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a safe one, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care.